Henry Cavill reveals Kevin Costner and Diane Lane's shaped Man of Steel's most debated scene. Man of Steel recast Superman as vulnerable and human, and its hardest hit, Jonathan Kent's death, lands because Henry Cavill drew on the power of his on-screen parents, especially Kevin Costner. Yes, we're still talking about the tornado. But there is a reason the Jonathan Kent scene in 2013's Man of Steel keeps coming up. It is the emotional spine of Zack Snyder's take on Superman, and Henry Cavill says it only worked because Kevin Costner and Diane Lane quietly went the extra mile for him when no one was looking. The off-camera help that made the on-camera heartbreak land. Back when Man of Steel came out, Cavill talked about how Costner and Lane were, in his words, enormously giving. Not just on their own close-ups, but when the camera was pointed only at him. He remembers Costner trekking way down the road roughly 200 meters to be there off-camera so Cavill could play the moment to his dad, not to an assistant with a clipboard. That kind of support is the unglamorous stuff that turns a giant superhero set piece into an actual gut punch. What Snyder was actually chasing with this Superman. Snyder never set out to make the flawless, Boy Scout version. His pitch was a guy with godlike power who still trips over human problems, messy romance, clashing duties, and, yes, ignoring your father's wishes versus honoring them. The whole idea was to ask what it costs to live among us without always flexing to give Clark internal knots to untangle instead of a perfect moral compass that always points north. That is why the tornado plays the way it does. Clark could have saved Jonathan. He does not. Jonathan tells him not to, and Clark listens. Snyder has defended that choice more than once, framing it as a test of maturity rather than a failure of heroism. The line he points to is this: why that tornado still sparks arguments. Over a decade later, the debate has not cooled. Some viewers call it one of Snyder's boldest swings. Others think it undercuts the character. I get why that bugs people. Having Superman watch his father die sounds like an instant disqualifier if your version of the character is built on rescuing everyone, always. Whether you think it is profound or preposterous, the moment still lands like a brick, which is why we are still arguing about it 12 years later. Quick facts, since you are already thinking about a rewatch. Man of Steel hit theaters in 2013, directed by Zack Snyder and produced with Legendary Pictures, DC Entertainment, and Syncope. It pulled in about $670 million worldwide, sits around a 7.1/10 on IMDb and 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, and is currently streaming on Max. Where do you land on the Jonathan Kent decision? Gutsy choice or character derailment? Drop your take in the comments.